Welcome to our podcast for today. Today will be the episode of Science Saturday, where we will be interviewing Miss Micah Elayda and Miss Sophia Magno for today's episode with the theme Bridging Science and Arts. Uh, my name is Matt. Uh, I'm a member of the ST, and we'll begin the episode.
Okay. Hi guys, I'm Micah Elayda, or people call me Mix or Mikes. I'm a teacher of Philippine Science High School teaching biology in grade 11. I am also an art hobbyist, so I like to draw. So if you want to see my artworks, just check out at @mictresa_art.
Hello everyone, I'm Sophia Magno. I'm currently a life sciences major at IWA Women's University. And I currently am a member of Siyensiya PH. And yeah, I like knitting and arts and crafts aside from science.
First question for both of you. How would you define science in your own terms? And do you see it somehow as an art? And if so, how? Let's start with Mamaika.
I think science kasi is a study of everything, of almost everything. So, it ranges, di ba, when we study science, we have the purest to the non-pure sciences. So, when you look at the pure sciences, these are the maths, yung mga numbers, and then you go through the mga non-pure, mga social sciences. So, I think within those scope, you will find art in between. So, parang the, it's within science itself. So, ganun. So, I think that's science. So there's art in there somewhere.
What about for Miss Sophia?
I agree with Ma'am Micah na ayun nga, science is basically studying about our world. So how things work, how things affect each other and the like. So one of the things that I've learned from my previous teachers nga is that anything can be a form of art as long as it conveys a message to the audience. So this led me to the realization that science can be an art. And yeah, basically that's it.
So, do you think that science can be considered as its own art form? And in what specific ways or aspects can you say so? Let's start again with Mamaika.
Um, we can also see it as an art form. For example, you're a scientist, and then you find research as your form of expression. So it could also be, in a way, your art. Like for example, if you're a scientist and siguro you're not good in the visual arts, but you can say that your research or your study, that is your artwork, or that's your art form. Kasi, di ba, when we look at art, it's a different form of expression of how you are, or your creativity. So that can also be a form of art when you do your sciences. Yeah.
For Miss Sophia.
Um, for me, I'm a STEM student. I was a STEM student, and for me, science is art of inquisitiveness. So it has taught me how to ask questions, how to find answers to these questions. So it brings information. It is a form of art simply because it communicates.
Agree.
Now, what about for the specifics? Do you think that there are any specific forms or specific branches of science which can be more considered as art or would be more approached as art compared to others?
It's kind of difficult to pinpoint just one. Pero if we see, let's say, since you see arts as visual, maybe if you look at architecture, that could be a form of art that is, let's say, a specific art that is also a science altogether. Um, Actually, when you look at, let's say, mga what's this? Kasi I'm a microbio by graduation. So I am a microbiologist. So when you look at organisms, 'di ba? They are they are definite like art forms, but they are like smaller or um parang I see life since I'm a biologist. I see life. It's also an art form in itself na. So I think parang ang hirap sabi ng iisa lang. Kasi right now, kasi when we define things, di ba, magkakaiba rin when we define art. Like, for example, from before then to now. So it's very much changeable. Di ba? Ayun. So, ayun siguro. Architecture and some other forms. Let's say genetic engineering. You want to make something that's beautiful. You can also see that is art. Ganyan.
I agree with Ma'am Micah nga, that it really depends on perspective. Ayun nga, because since we have different backgrounds nga, we have different fields, I think we all can have a different perspective of what is art, and we can incorporate art in everything we do naman. So,
Medyo ano din kasi, di ba? We have two concepts that are very much malaking concepts sila. Art and science. So, hindi ka pwedeng pumili lang na isa. Kasi that's it. Yan lang yung link nila. Hindi pwede. It's a wide scope.
I agree. I think that there are a lot of things in science that can be really considered as art, especially for those who really are passionate in those fields. Now, for the next question, what do you think bridges together or connects science and art, and how so, and in what ways and forms could this be seen?
How do you bridge or connect art from science? When, for example, di ba, we can define art as an expression, and sometimes when we create art, it is a reflection of what is life or what is actually present. Like for example, when you do a portrait, so you copy a person, or let's say if you want to draw a thing, yeah. So it is an imitation of the reality. So I think that is one thing where it is connected. So pwedeng it's one to the other, or pwede rin naman pakabila. Okay, so pwede mo rin gamitin what you know on what is in art, and then you transfer it into science. Let's say you make a beautifully made the structure or something from yeah. So it's hand in hand, palitan sila. Yeah. So you can see an artwork could be used in reference to a scientific discovery, ganun, and vice versa. Ganun.
Me naman, as a student, so science and art are both expressions of how we describe and understand the world around us. So in science, we can see it as laws, theories in terms of natural sciences, and how in art naman it's colors, brushstrokes, textures of things, of what we see with our own eyes, what we feel. So we can see art, and we can see that art impacts science when we see science being communicated through art. So in our very own books, how it aids how we learn through visualization. I think one example would be scientific illustrators, those who create illustrations for books. For example, the anatomy books. Actually, I just learned it recently because I was wondering, like, who would be this very good person who would make me understand science
Yeah.
in better through visualizations. And on the other hand, I think we can see um, science impacting art when artworks mimic real life, yung mga painting, yung mga portraits, like what Ma'am Micah said, um, mixing colors, knowing the reactions when the colors blue and yellow are mixed, and knowing what perspective can be used to present the art in some way. So yeah, that's for me.
Yeah, I agree. I super agree with that. Parang illustration actually helps students. Parang it's good if you're, for example, your teacher is good in art, or they
Yes.
can show you that how it is, di ba?
Opo.
Parang people, we are very visual. Kaya nga we're so stuck in our phones kasi it's visual.
And I agree. Good visualizations does really improve our understanding of science, especially if, I guess, in my opinion, it's in the teaching. If, say, some
Yes.
teachers are presenting PowerPoint presentations, if they're better presented, I think a lot of that can contribute to our understanding. So,
Yeah.
for the next question, it's kind of related to the previous one. They say that science and art are the same thing, as they both intend to widen our understanding of the world around us. Do you agree with this, and why?
I think yes. They work hand in hand on how we see the world, or how we understand the world. Um, like one way of learning, for example, you take biology class. So a way of learning is through drawing. So when we do our labs, you always draw something. So it's part of learning. So when you do, or when you draw that thing, you will you'll have a more understanding of it. So you have a mental illustration in your head kung nasan yung, for example, anatomy, kung nasan tong muscles na to, or any other part of the organism. Um, art also like put joy into like learning, like parang, as we've mentioned earlier. So it makes it more easier for us to see things. It's it shows us, or it also somehow conveys reaction from people. Like for example, magpakita ka ng um, gory or yucky, let's say, sakit in, or in let's say in your pathology class. Ganyan. 'Di ba? It creates an impact when you can see it, like in visual arts, ganun. So ayun. So I think they work hand in hand in a better understanding of the world. Ayun. I think Sophia can have more insights on this.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Ma'am Micah na ayun nga, it works hand in hand. It's more complementary, more rather than contrasting. Kasi we see, like even in, like what I said earlier, like sa books nga, I think we see science and art together more than we see it apart. Yeah.
I'm actually getting confused pag minsan may tao, like for example, a student would ask me like, you're in science, why are you doing art? So parang they see it like as separate, when actually parang nahihirapan ako sagutin yung tanong na yun, kasi parang sa akin, you can have them both. Hindi naman siya mutually exclusive na mga bagay. Ganun.
Totoo po. Parang you see them more together rather than like separate palagi.
Yes.
Those are some very nice insights from both of you, and I actually wholeheartedly agree that science and art are seen mostly together. Now, for the next question, do you think there is a good enough foundation for science as an art for interested people to pursue it as such? Or is there an industry for this already, like science and art together? Please, if you may give us some details about it, please do.
Um, Sophia, do you have? answers para mauna ka naman.
Um, for me, I think compared from before po, I think we have more freedom to pursue both art and science now. Um, you can be from any background and still do science. We see scientists today make art out of stained mouse brain slides. Um, so I do think na up until now people see that some people still see science na that it is intimidating. They still see science as this intimidating subject that use this even more intimidating jargons. So I think there are still work that needs to be done about this, but learning that there are more orgs now spreading awareness about science through art and even distinguished scientists that are very supportive about it. I think we're off to a good start.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, tama yun. Sige.
and as for the industry naman po, like what Ma'am Micah said, architecture. There's a lot of concepts along with the design authors. I think designing medical instruments, materials. I think they also use um, designs that make it kumbaga para mas magamit ng tao, like more comfortably, like that.
Tama. Also, what's uso right now? What's in, like for example, graphic arts, diba? So it's kind of a combination of computer science and art together. Unlike before, nung bata ako, you can do that. Parang you can draw with your computer. Siguro paint. Yun, inabot ka na yung paint. Yan. That's the most I can I used before in technology and art. Diba? Ayun, so graphic arts, marami na rin naman ngayon. Like for example, the 3D printing is also another parang product of science that is used in arts as well. So minsan, hindi sila nag-sculpt. So, just gagawa lang sila online or graphic and then they will print it. So may sculpture ka na. Yan. So ayun, so I think medyo dumadami na yung foundations or marami na tayong there are more people interested in art or using art and science all together. Yung technology natin, we are using art as well. So ayun. So I think we're through parang we're in progress towards this parang linkage of science and art. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now for the next question, typically there's art careers in the Philippines. They have a negative connotation as for being like not a good source of income. Like, ba't ka magiging pintor? Ba't ka magiging singer? Ganun. What about the mentioned stuff that we had earlier in the industry of art and science? Would those negative connotations be applicable to the mixture of art and science?
I don't think so right now. But before, when I was younger, during my time, there's a notion that when you take art, parang you won't earn something. So there's nothing in there. So hindi ka magiging successful. Especially if you're on a middle class family and then usually kasi yung mga fine arts, these are those that are already well off, so they can spend their money, so parang they can waste their money into a course such as art, fine arts. But no, when I took my college, when I picked my course in college, I love art, but ano na siya sa isip ko na no, hindi mo pwede yung kunin. And also, I have a thinking that art, I can also learn that beside me learning this biology class that I wanted to take. So parang it still works hand in hand. So I think now people are more open into this. Parang I think I can see more people that are taking arts Kasi nga, I can see that people are more appreciative of art right now compared to before. Kasi nga, as I've mentioned din kanina, we are more visual right now. So we just look at things. We want to see things. We are always in our social media. We look at our phones. Ganyan. So, ayun. So, plus the convenience then that we are allowed right now. So, we have the internet. So, there are many forms of where artists can express themselves. So, I think mas marami na ngayon yumayaman ng mga artists. So, probably soon, wala na yung thinking na, oh, you won't have money if you take on an art course. Ganyan. Ayun. So,
I
any
think
thoughts?
more, I agree with Ma'am Micah nga, na parang dati, um, people would think na parang in art, parang wala kang kikitain, ganun. But then, now, parang I see that multimedia art specifically, parang nagbo-boom siya ngayon, lalo na like sa movies. A lot of people are watching movies nowadays. There's a Netflix, ganyan. I also see a lot of artists um, more usually than before sa social media. And yeah, I think people now are more appreciative of art, and they see it differently from how they did it before. Yeah.
Especially during the pandemic, in the pandemic right now, di ba? We are always just looking at things, ganyan, because you can't go out. So, you want to see really nice things. So, yun. Parang ang dami na yung nagsisell ng mga art, or kung ano-ano, mga crafts, ganyan.
Opo. Parang naging outlet na rin po this pandemic. Parang, opo.
Parang you retraced your old talent and then you created this. Parang ang daming ganon.
Opo.
Now, with that being said, do you think that there are enough opportunities for that here in the Philippines?
There are a lot, I think. Parang sa Instagram, usually ako nakakita ng mga creatives. But I think unlike sa mga ibang bansa, let's say sa US, like, parang mas more appreciative yung mga ibang bansa. Unlike for the Philippines. But I think, compared sa lumang Pilipinas, parang mas marami na ngayon avenues for this artist to earn more money. Ayun.
I think parang other than making it their profession, then people use it to express their thoughts and opinions. Lalo na yung mga, for example, yung about sa healthcare workers. I see a lot of posts like yung mga artworks to parang as thanks to the frontline workers right now. Parang I think it lifts up people then seeing a variety of art dedicated to them.
Yes. So I think hindi lang in monetary ways. Parang when an artist, when someone is, like for example, when I post an art and people like it, it's more than the pera. Parang mas, ang sweet naman nila, gano'n. Parang appreciation is better than money, I guess. Yeah.
Now we're moving on to a segment which would be a little bit more of personal questions about more your journey as people in science. Now, first question: how do you think your occupation in the sciences itself is generally viewed in the Philippines? Like, do people appreciate what you do, or do people just brush it off as nothing? So, what about that?
How about Sophia first?
As a student,
What do you do ba?
I'm
Oh yeah,
po.
okay.
I'm currently a life sciences major po.
All right.
And in a way, I think it is both love and kumbaga parang I don't know yet how people view it, but then as how I see it, as
Judge.
long as with my peers, then most people associate biology and life sciences to with medicine. And since medicine is a well-regarded path in our country, I think people have this image that life sciences students are training to be in that path. But then on the other hand, I think there are still people who like don't believe in science. So many people are still scared. But I think we should understand that not everyone that we meet will have the same experiences as we do, and that science is something foreign to them. I think I think that we should use this as a motivation rather to find ways to make science more approachable to the masses, to protect them as well, especially because of the pandemic.
Your bio. Bio.
Apo.
What's your. Okay. Yeah, so my occupation, how it's viewed, I think being a teacher. I think we are viewed as like people see teaching as a simple occupation. Like some people say it's a dead end job. Like if you don't have anything else, you go to teaching. So parang ganun. So people do siguro there are some teachers that really this isn't their passion. Um, I can say this wasn't my passion, but when you go into this occupation and then you meet the students, um, you develop or you gain the passion in the process. So um, people also teaching is one of the respectable jobs because you teach the younger people. So you are the model person for them. So yun. So as a person teaching the sciences and also trying to do art and the side, I appreciate how like some of my students they like my posts or they share my artwork ganyan. So it's also nice to know that. And also when someone uh, like I have a student right now that's parang she's trying to see parang what's the relation why are you in bio and then you're in arts as well. So parang I seeing them that liking parang seeing me as their like inspiration or their role model in quotes, parang that's an achievement for me. Na parang, I can also do that pala. I can, ganon. Yung mas sinasabi. Ayun. So I think it is loved and a little bit ridiculed.
I completely understand your explanations. And also, fun fact for the audience: I was actually a former student of Ma'am Micah. Just last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a biology student for Ma'am Micah's core class. Now, for the
It's
next
my
question,
favorite section.
I remember that. So for the next for the
Okay.
next question, would you like other people to take the career paths you guys have taken? And is there any advice that you would give to the people who would like to take them as well?
For if you want to go to teaching, I think you have to have first experience. Like for example, you you try to teach someone because I think it's being smart doesn't mean that you can teach because sometimes there are like I have peers, let's say they're very good in math, but if you ask them to teach you, it's difficult. So you have to have an experience in connecting with people. Also, you have to let's say, likable. So people can parang they can relate more to you, or they will listen to you because you're likable, but not so likable for na hindi ka na nila igagalang in a respectable way naman. So I think lalo na pag teaching, you have to know many things. So you should also be a reader, ganyan. You should also listen, ganyan. Ayun, and I think a diploma from a good university also helps. Ayun. And trainings.
As for me, I think as a student, I don't have like the experience to say yet. But then, for those who want to take the life sciences, I think you should really like go for it if you really want to. And I think the tip that really helped me like go through my freshman year was to take one thing at a time. Like not really like we all know that in college like the workload like it gets heavier, but then I think it is still important to like time management talaga kahit na like
Yeah.
paulit-ulit na time management is really important, and prioritizing things. And yeah, I think that would be
Yeah. I think I agree din. Para life sciences kasi is, di ba, when you're bio, ang dami mong i-memorize, ganyan, ganyan. But for, I think it is also important to have a form of recreation, especially to students ngayon. They easily get stressed with too much requirements. So I think you should have like break times, yeah. Have enjoy your weekends, ganyan. You have to have your breaks every once in a while to keep you in perspective.
Do you think we can alleviate the negative um, negative views of society and scientists, like how Miss Sophia earlier mentioned, how other peoples are still afraid or still negligent of science? Do you think that um, we can alleviate that soon, and in what particular way could it be removed?
Sophia?
um I think now like we're off to a good start, especially there's more organizations na that are spreading awareness. I think science communication then is key, like making science more understandable and approachable to people, um, and yeah, share science with other people in a way that they understand. I think it's important nga. Like even in researches, I remember my research teacher saying that a research problem is it's based on like the problem issues in the community. So like when we explain it, when we start to do it, I think like our track should remain on doing it for the people. So ayun nga, importante talaga na we bring science to the people, that we make it more approachable. Ayan.
Yeah. That's correct. If people are more knowledgeable on it, they will accept it. Parang, they will know, they will not be afraid of it. They'll be more open on to what it is. So I think having a knowledge on things that will remove the fear of sciences. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's good to know things. So kailangan marami tayong alaala.
I agree. I agree. Now, going back to the science and art thing, do do you wish for the public, or the general people of the Philippines to be more aware of science as a form of art and how they are intertwined?
I think they should, because creativity is also required in creating scientific breakthroughs. So if you ayun. So they should know that science and art are not two separate things. They are intertwined in some manner, or yeah. So I hope people will understand, or they will not they will be more accepting of people that are into arts and are also and are also into the sciences, because they really are like twins, so they are always together. Yeah. When you go at, let's say, in UPLB, our college is called College of Arts and Sciences, because they are always together. So hindi sila nakaseparate. Yan.
Um, that's really nice, like the College of Arts and Sciences po. I really like
Yeah.
that. Um, as for me, I also want people to see science and art as more of complementary nga. Because like I remember Miss Iya Tulin, one of my role models then. Um, she said that creativity is vital in science in approaching problems. Um, I I think it is important then for lalo na for those who are taking college next year. I think my biggest my biggest issue like applying for colleges is whether to choose art, science, or humanities. Like I like humanities, I like science, I like art. Um, but then I think I think we're made to think na parang you can only choose one when in fact you can know about the three of those things. And
At the
yeah,
same time.
yes po. It's more interdependent.
Correct. Like when I was in college, we also have, I'm a BSc bio student, but we also have an art class. We have humanities subjects. So I think the schools, they know that this can also be this should also be nurtured in the student. So they have this as a required course. And also if you want arts, and then let's say your university also, or let's say you want science, but your university also has a art course, maybe you can take it as an elective or as an extra course. So you won't, parang hindi mo naman isipin na that you let go of your passion, let's say, if art is your passion. Ganun. You can learn it also on your own. Lalo na ngayon, we have a lot of venues where you can learn more on arts, or let's say music, ganyan. Yun, type mo lang sa YouTube and then you'll have a tutorial. Ganyan. Ayun. Kaya mas ma-artsy, I think kaya mas open yung mga tao ngayon because they have many venues for learning and for knowing, for expressing.
Now, coming back to the more career-centric and personal questions. What about the setbacks or difficulties like the maltreatment or just brushing off of the profession? So what about the setbacks that you faced in the start and at the current points of your careers in the field? How did you deal with them, and how would you advise others to deal with such problems if they ever encounter similar events?
Is this difficulties like for example me in teaching, ganon, math?
Any difficulties that have bothered you in your career or have made some things or portions of your everyday life as a teacher difficult or bothersome?
I think that I had students before from my previous school. That was the time when I was super stressed, and the students were very disrespectful and they're self-worthy, ganyan, because they are rich kids. So I think that was, I think, the lowest point in my career, because the students are like, for example, I'm in class, and the students, they are allowed to have their laptops. So we learn through the laptops, and then you'll see na habang nagsisermon ka, itong mga estudyante nga to, minumura-mura ka na lang. Or parang I experience disrespectful students. So I think that is the most difficult na nangyari in my career. And what I did, I just let it pass, and then I just moved on to a different school na lang, just to like remove the interaction with the students. But right now, I still communicate with these kids, and then I learn also from that, from what happened na ganun. So na siguro they're just stressed, and attacking me would be their release, ganyan. So yun. Siguro may mga ganun talaga estudyante. And also before, there was a time where since we're learning online, and then I got so disappointed because the students don't know this very simple question. I think they didn't study or whatever. And then I was so annoyed, and then I said something about, I think I mentioned a bad word, and then I think they were very offended with it. So from then on, I just learned to just choose my words and be more careful with students. I think that was my first year of teaching. So siguro akala ko barkada ko sila. Tapos ganyan. You should set a boundary between you and your students. So hindi mo sila kailangan maging super friends. Or yun. So I think that's also a thing. Kaya hindi ko ina-add sa social media minsan yung mga estudyante ko, because it will break the barrier. So parang baka mawala yung respect or whatever. So I think you should be firm with yourself, and you should set boundaries between you and your student. So hindi mo sila peers. Total peers or besties, hindi. Ganun. Students mo pa rin sila. Ayun. How about you, Sophia?
As a student nga, I think the most difficult to master is, again, yung time management. But
That's
I
true.
learned, as I entered yung online class na, that finishing tasks like early lessens my anxiety to like in passing the the work late. And I think finding like a study plan that works for you. I think it's different for like every person. Um, another thing is adding things to my schedule that like makes me happy, like knitting, or just simply resting, like taking time for myself.
For
I think
yourself, yeah.
it really pays po talaga to to you know to have time for yourself.
Also, I would have to agree with time management also. I think that's also needed also in my field, kasi maraming distractions. Also, when you're also studying your masters, and then you're doing your work, and then you also have your family, ganyan. So you have to manage your time well. Ayun.
Okay, I appreciate your insights. But what about do you think that these setbacks and difficulties are faced by other people in the same field? Um, how so? And do you think that these can be avoided?
I think most people really experience that. Yung, for example, yung, as I've mentioned, yung mga disrespectful na, let's say, students or minsan colleagues. So So I think they just should be mature about it and be more, let's say, formal, and let's just actually, this will depend on the person. Like, for example, if you are so emotional, that thing could really affect you. Like before, no, when I had that experience, I was so stressful that even my health, I think I'm getting affected na rin. So I think you have to be strong in your mind, in your body. You have to be ready. You have to know that this could happen to you, and then so that you'll be prepared to face it or to move on from it better. You know. Ayun.
I think students and for those who work, they really have times na it's difficult to juggle things together. So I think yeah, everyone goes through like problems and time management. Um,
Mm.
Sometimes talaga as in hindi na maka-cope, lalo na pagkasabay-sabay talaga. But then, as for me, like what I do is like write everything down. Um, I feel like when I see like all the tasks like laid out, I think it's easier to like divide like what tasks should I do on this day, on the next week like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I do.
You should organize, di
Yes.
ba? Or make a to-do list. Yeah. So
Correct.
I think that would be helpful. Or kung meron kang kaibigan, that will remind you. Or sabihin mo, paano malapit na deadline? I know then sometimes students, we are more uh, we, we think when we procrastinate, that's when we have our best output. So I think sometimes hindi rin masyadong gumagana yung time management sa students because they really wait like overnight to do it kasi doon lahat ng creative juices lang. I actually experienced that nung masters. I have a paper. Parang every day, let's say, it's within a week, you have to submit that. Monday, tititigan ko lang yun. Tapos, yung parang, kaya ko naman to ng last minute eh. Yung parang, masyado bilib sa sarili mo. Kaya minsan, mahirap mag-time manage. So, but when you get it, I think you'll be successful as a student and also as a teacher or any occupation. Yeah.
And I agree, and especially with Mom Micah's the procrastination crime, which is something that a lot of us
Yeah.
students admittedly do because it does work for
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah.
Now moving on to the
Pressure
next.
helps.
Yes, Mom. The adrenaline rush of the night before the passing day. Now, for the next question, we're moving on to the future of the field. Where do you see the industry of science going in the future, and how do you think science and art would fare in the future? Like, would they be more interconnected in the future, and would they improve?
I think right now, also with the pandemic happening, science is really something that even the common person is now studying. Like, oh, what is this virus? How is it spread? It's science is becoming a household topic. Like, hindi nila alam, pero that's actually science. Oh, mag-isolate ka daw muna and things like that. It's part of science na it is part of science. Um, in terms of art, also I think it's also developing. Science is always developing. Art is always developing. I think things are always in progress. You just have to be you just have to go with it. So your mind also should be progressing. That you should also understand this and be open with this. So we have good futures for art and science, I think. Also with students like you, I think the students now, they are very open-minded. They are very expressive. Parang they know more like compared when I was this age. Parang ganyan. So I think we are on to a good future. Sana lang matapos na yung pandemic.
Looking ahead then, I can positively see science and art um, incorporated in more things that we see now. Um, that it is viewed as complementary rather than contrasting. I think science communication then will be more known, more will be given more importance lalo na ngayong pandemic. Like the relay of information, how things like the virus, the variants, how it is visualized in like posters. I think we're really off to a good start, and I hope that it will be better na in the future.
Yes.
Um, how do you wish to impact others with your work, like in the future in general? How do you wish to make other people see science and art in the future?
Mm. I think I'm just realizing it now, like with my students, na they are more. I think that's how I will impact it, like in showing my students on like this. This is what is my profession. I'm a teacher. I do biology, but I also love art. I make art. I create artworks. So parang showing to these people or showing to my students is my primary way of influencing this kind of let's say occupation of having art and science all together in my life. Ayun, in that way, that is, I think, yes. And also, encouraging them, like, to not dull their passion. Um, Let it shine as well. Even if you're a STEM student, you should never ever let go of your art or your passion. Because if everything else is gone, the only thing that you have is your passion. And if that's art, and then it is that, and it will be with you until forever. Ayun.
As for me, I think I want to walk through this thing with other students as well. Um, I want I want the future generations to appreciate science the way my mentors, my teachers made me appreciate science and art. Um, and yeah, I think I will continue to learn from other people and from my experiences and share it with my peers.
Parang living by example na lang to show them. If you're happy in your career now, maybe somehow if I do that, yun, siguro ganun yung isipin ng mga bata. They can also have this form of happiness or this fulfillment that we have right now.
And lastly, last question for today. Do you hope that more people will appreciate this form of art or science as a form of art, and why?
I hope everyone will appreciate this because science is also an art form. Or let's say you're doing your research, you have your methodology and things like that. When you do your art, you also have these methods that you do. So parang it's just a similar thing. You're just using a different form of medium or a different um, output that you have. So I hope people be more knowledgeable on these things, like them being intertwined knowledge. Uh, and, ayun, masyado kasi ang tao, they look at it at one plane. So at one face lang. So they become judgmental on things. But if you explain to them, oh yeah, maybe they will realize these things. So I hope people will be more open-minded towards art. I think science is medyo ano na siya, meron na siyang parang may reputation na siya na ganito, or people are more knowledgeable on or more open with sciences. I think kailangan na lang makahabol ng art sa tabi niya. Yun. So I hope people will be more open-minded and more appreciative or more willing to learn and to understand um, what art and what is science altogether.
Likewise, Ma'am Micah, I also want people to be more appreciative of science and art and to want to learn more about these two concepts. And especially, ayun nga, like the interdependence of these two concepts, I hope that, I hope that they see it as more of together rather than contradicting concepts. Ayun.
Yes.
Do you have any other things to say to the audience or to the org as like closing messages
As a
for the
closing.
audiences, for the org, or for the people watching or listening to this?
Um, I would say that art and science, these are both creative expressions, but of different concepts or different backgrounds that you use or different media. Um, they both create something and um, and is, I think, helpful to people or audiences. Um, and I think they are both um, good knowledges or forms of knowledge. So we shouldn't separate them or discriminate one over the other. Because both of these things, this will create a better future or a better understanding of viewing things. So this will create a better perspective with people if you have art and science in your in you or in your appreciation.
I think both science and arts are equally important to humans. And I think we should continue to understand and learn more about about the similarities of these fields rather than the differences. And I think we can use these two fields um, to approach problems with new perspectives. And yeah, if you want to if you want to pursue science and art, you should do it.
Yeah. Wag na magdalawang isip.
So thank you for sharing your wonderful insights for our episode today. This has been Science Saturday, the sixth episode of our podcast series on Feature February. Um, thank you po to you, and have a nice day. Oh, and
Thank you din.
also
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Deste. Nice to meet you, Ma'am Micah.